So I gave up on Foundation. Yep, Apple TV's big, glossy, galaxy-spanning epic that was supposed to be the crown jewel of streaming sci-fi. The one with the billion-dollar sets and spaceships that look like they were designed by people who exclusively wear turtlenecks and drink sparkling water. I've officially tapped out. And I want to talk about why. Because it's not that it's terrible. It's not that it's unwatchable. It's just fine. And that, weirdly, is worse. Let me explain. The first problem is the production schedule. There's just so long between seasons that by the time the new one drops, I've completely forgotten who's stabbing who, which planet is in revolt, and which clone is currently in therapy. And when I go back and remind myself, I realise something. Oh yeah, this was just okay. Not amazing, not bad, just okay. And do you know what happens when you take just okay and stretch it across years? You really stop caring. Because here's the thing, if a show is amazing, I will wait years, I'll wait decades. You could drop another season of The Expanse in 2050 and I would be there with a VR headset glued to my face, ready to binge it. But when it's middling, nah. Life is too short, especially when you're staring down another 10-hour marathon of a show that takes itself more seriously than I take my own tax returns. Now, I want to be fair here, there are some really cool concepts in Foundation. I've talked about them before. The Cleon's awesome. The whole thing with the clone dynasty of emperors slowly breaking down over time, that is a brilliant idea. Whoever pitched Space Caesars but make them all the same guy deserves a raise. And Demoiselle, the secret puppet master robot, really intriguing. That stuff works. But here's the problem. I've come down with what I'm calling long form fatigue. I mentioned this in another video, but I'm just tired of this whole modern TV approach to where every series is structured like a 10-hour movie. You know the type? The slow burn, the prestige vibes, endless shots of people staring into the middle distance while ominous music plays. It never gets to the good stuff. It never makes me care about the characters. It just drags everything out because, hey, why tell your story in 1 hour when you can stretch it into 10? And that's what's happening here. The Cleon storyline, yeah, it had me. But the main story with Gale, I'm sorry, I found it tedious, painfully tedious. Every time she showed up, I felt my attention wandering. Suddenly, I'd remember I needed to clean the fridge, or finally learn how to fold a fitted sheet. Everything but watching another drawn-out conversation about destiny. And look, I long ago stopped thinking of this show of having much to do with Asimov's Foundation. Other than the name and a few broad strokes, it's really its own thing. And that's fine in theory. Adaptations don't have to be one-to-one translations. But here's the truth. The only reason I was still watching was because it was called Foundation. And if it had been called Space Dynasty or Destiny Wars, I'd have been out a season ago. Case in point, I started watching this new season, right? I was ready to give it another shot, and the very first scene is the mule. He shows up, does his whole, "Hi, I'm the mule, I want to rule the universe" shtick. And I just sit there thinking, this is so far away from Asimov's work, I might as well be watching a different franchise entirely. And then I asked myself a dangerous question. Am I actually enjoying this? And the answer was no. I got 2 minutes into the season premiere, and the thought of spending another 10 hours slogging through it honestly made me a little sad. So I said to myself, "Self, I'm out." Now, because I'm trying to be constructively critical here, I did ask myself, what could this show have done to have kept me watching? What would have made this work for me? And annoyingly, the answer is pretty simple. If they'd stuck closer to Asimov's story, if they'd trusted that the books were compelling enough without needing to bolt on endless soap opera subplots and Marvel villain monologues, that would have kept me around. Because Asimov's Foundation isn't about chosen ones and galaxy-spanning wars and secret robots pulling strings. It's about ideas. It's about the rise and fall of empires. It's about psychology, sociology, and the weight of history. Sure, maybe that doesn't sell well in an age of CGI lasers, but you know what? That's the thing that made the book special. I'll admit, part of this is just me being weary of prestige TV in general. These uber serious, cinematic, look at us, we're basically 10-hour movie shows. They don't hold my attention anymore. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm a broken person. But if every episode feels like homework, I'm not going to show up for class. Will I ever come back to Foundation? Honestly, maybe. Depends if TV somehow gets worse than it already is. In 5 years' time, the standard might have dropped so far that Foundation starts looking like a masterpiece. Stranger things have happened, but right now, no. Instead, I've been trying out other stuff. I started watching Murderbot and didn't hate it, which is high praise in my current critical TV mood. The episodes are shorter, which I actually love because I can watch one and still have time to, live my life. And I checked out Alien Earth 2, and the first episode was actually really well done, so maybe there's hope for me yet. But as for Foundation, if I want Foundation, I'll just go back and reread the books. They're still brilliant. They're still everything that made me fall in love with sci-fi in the first place, and crucially, they don't require me to block out 10 hours and a yearly recap session just to remember what the frack is going on. So that's where I'm at. I gave up on Apple TV's Foundation, not because it was terrible, not because it was unwatchable, but because it was just okay. And in a world with more TV than any of us could ever watch in a lifetime, just okay doesn't really cut it anymore. Maybe you're still watching and love it, which is great. I'm genuinely happy if you're getting more out of it than I did, but for me, I'm done. If I want Asimov, I'll pick up the books. If I want space politics, I'll rewatch The Expanse. And if I want to see clones having emotional breakdowns, well, actually that part was pretty good. But overall, I'm out. My new book, Tao Solandis, is now available. Links in the description because, well, of course it is. It's set at the end of time where an ancient AI guards the final stories of the universe. These are 6 interconnected tales of sci-fi with heart, brains, and just a sprinkle of existential dread. So if that sounds like your thing, grab a copy now before the heat death of the universe kills us all.